presentation. Yeah, welcome. So as Mary has said, my name is Sarah Leroux and I work for OMC as a menopause specialist nurse. But as well as that, I'm also a yoga teacher, and yoga has followed me through my adult life. So I started my personal practice of yoga about 30 years ago, and I enjoyed it so much and found it beneficial straight away, almost, that I soon did my teacher training. And as I said, it supported me through my adult life, and my teaching has reflected this as I've got older myself. So I've taught adults, I've taught pregnancy yoga, I've taught parent and baby, children's yoga. I also went to India and did a course in yoga therapy to help with common complaints such as back pain, shoulder pain. Some, it can help with some mental health problems as well. And so that was really interesting. And also I've done some training in mindfulness, meditation, and I also teach that. So, and now I teach, I'm interested in yoga for menopause because it's my age, and also it helps with my work and the women that I speak to. So what is the purpose of yoga? So this is an ancient text that I've studied for many years, and it's called Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And Patanjali was a yogi, a sage, that wrote this really small little book, but it's followed by many yogis across the world. And the second line of this text says yoga chitta vritti nirodha, which means that the purpose of yoga, the main purpose, is to still the fluctuations of the mind. So it's the purpose of yoga ultimately is to bring you to a state of meditation, enlightenment, deep calm, and peace. And in those days, all those thousands of years ago, these yogis used to go and meditate for hours on end, years, days, months, years on end. They used to go and meditate in caves and in forests and alone, and is solitary. And to be able to sit for meditation, you have to be pretty fit. So you have to be quite strong and you have to be flexible to be sitting for that length of time. So in which case, in those days, they used to do these exercises and these postures that we now know as yoga, and they reflected their natural world around them. So a lot of those of you who've done yoga before will know that a lot of the yoga postures are named after the natural world. So you've got tree posture, which is called Vrksasana. You've got Cobra, Bhujangasana, Locust, Shalabhasana, cat, dog. All these, a lot of the names are taken from the natural world. So that's where that comes from. And the actual word yoga means yoke or union. And what we try and do in yoga, the practice of yoga, is to unite the mind, the body, and the breath. And that gives us a really good overall health and well-being. Okay, so thinking specifically about menopause now, what are the physical benefits of yoga during menopause? So we know that one of the main problems during menopause is we get really achy, really stiff, especially in the morning. Women become quite stiff walking down the stairs. They feel it's difficult because the whole body seems to ache. Well, yoga helps that with these, taking it gently. These gentle flowing movements and postures will help to ease aching muscles and joints. The reduction in estrogen levels can put all women at risk of osteopenia and osteoporosis. And with the standing postures and standing on one leg and the balancing postures, it helps us to build bone density. So, you know, another really good advantage of practicing yoga. So it improves our muscle strength and our flexibility, and you need these two things together. So those people who are really muscly and strong tend to not be very flexible, and so can then have an injury, you know, if they're doing weights or whatever. If people are too flexible and they're naturally really flexible and they can do a lot of the postures really easily, but they don't have the strength around the joint, they too then can cause an injury to the joint. So you need the two together. They need to be balanced, strength and flexibility, to keep it a safe and you know, a practice. So yoga improves core stability and strength, helps to focus the mind, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the next slide. It promotes cardiovascular health. So if there's all different traditions of yoga, all different styles of yoga, and if you were to practice the more vigorous traditions, like for example, Bikram yoga, you may have heard of, or Ashtanga, hot yoga, where you practice yoga in a very heated hot room, like sort of like you would if you're actually in India. It can really get your heart rate going, and it can really, you know, strengthen your heart muscles. So it's good for cardiovascular health. And also it can aid weight loss too. So it helps to tone the body if you're doing, you know, and with all the movement as well. So yeah. Moving on to its mental health benefits. So a lot of people, when they first start out doing yoga, they tend to do it because of its physical benefits. You know, a lot of the classes, especially in gyms, tend to focus mainly on the postures and on the physical side of yoga. But when you practice it for that reason, which is a very good reason in itself, naturally you'll soon realize the mental health benefits that it brings. Some people go to yoga though for its mental health benefits, and then they get the side effect of the good physical benefits too. But it's, you know, during menopause, we know that a very problematic side of it is the high levels of stress and anxiety that the fluctuating hormones bring us. So the mental health benefits are key during menopause when you practice yoga. And the mindfulness techniques help to relieve hot flushes and reduce this negative rumination that we have. If you've ever woken up in the night and you can't get back to sleep, and how your mind just, you know, just whirls around and you just cannot get out of that spiral of negative thinking. Well, yoga can teach you the techniques to help you stop that negative spiral and, you know, help to relax you and focus the mind to help you get back to sleep. So there we go. On the next line, it says it aids sleep. So not only dropping off to sleep, because quite often we're really tired when we go to bed, so we just kind of conk out, we're, you know, fast asleep. But it's the problem with waking up in the night for a lot of women, especially if you're experiencing night sweats, frequent night sweats. So it improves self-esteem and positivity. Quite often when we go through menopause, we have quite a low self-esteem. We feel tired, we're lethargic, we may have put on weight around our middle, we just don't feel ourselves. But practicing yoga is a positive thing to do. It has, as I said, it helps with the physical and mental side, you know, the whole body. So in which case it's more, it brings positivity with it. You feel better about yourself. You feel more sort of re-energized. And it also teaches us how to relax. So if I was to say to you now, lie on the floor and relax, it's impossible. You know, you can't just lie on the floor it's called Shavasana in yoga. You can't just lie on the floor and just say, now I'm relaxed. For a lot of people, relaxation is a conscious decision that they allow to happen. It doesn't come naturally. We live off nervous energy, a lot of us in this life. And we've learned to just keep going. And to relax is really difficult. And for some women and for some men as well, it takes time to learn how to relax, to learn how to relax the body, to learn how to relax the muscles and the mind. All go together. And going to bed and going to sleep is not really relaxation. Relaxation is really allowing your conscious body to relax and release. So, sometimes it takes time. Some people are lucky enough to know how to relax straight away, and that's great, but a lot of people don't, and it's a learnt behavior. And then coming to yoga, if you went to a class once a week, just coming back to your mat the same time every week. If you practice every day at home, it doesn't matter. It needs to be regular. But when you come to your yoga mat, it's a time for you. It's a time for you. You try and forget your everything else, your work, your family. It's for you, and it's time for you to reflect on how you're feeling and to unwind. And ultimately, after a yoga class, you do feel more relaxed, and then you feel re-energized afterwards. Okay, so I just need to go on to the next. Here we are. Hang on, let me just make sure that is the next one. So I just wanted to show you this this little diagram, which I've used, I've sort of demonstrated quite a lot, because I think it's really important during menopause that we can become really exhausted with it all. What with the symptoms can be really draining. And as women, as people going through the menopause, we just tend to keep going. We just cope, because we just cope. We just keep going and keep going. And quite often we don't realize when things start to spiral out of control. So demonstrating this exhaustion funnel is to try and catch it at the top of that spiral before you get to the bottom, where you feel exhausted and burnt out. So this is written by Professor Marie Asberg, a French woman, doctor. And as you can see at the top of the spiral, you may start to feel like you can't sleep so well. And so, of course, during menopause, a lot of women have night sweats, so they suffer with anxiety during the night as well. And as I talked about, that rumination as well, that causes those sleep problems. And then as a result of that, you may, probably would lack energy during the day. So you find it more difficult to cope with work. So you're just, like, as I say, living off that nervous energy to get you through the day. And you might start to get some general aches and pains during the menopause. It's a common complaint. The aches and pains with the dropping estrogen levels tend to feel a little bit more stiff all over. But then when we carry stress in our body, this causes aches and pains as well. You've heard of the saying, carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Well, that's exactly when you start to become stressed in your life, your shoulders start to creep up towards your ears, and they stay there. And it creates a lot of tension around your upper back, up your neck, and cause headaches, and is not nice. Also, back pain is a common complaint as well. And, research has shown that stress is a big indicator for back pain. And those who get chronic back pain are often carry a lot of stress in their body too. And then we come down to the guilt parts. Well, we just feel so grotty that we go to work every day, or we see our friends and we hold it together. But then we come home and we're with our family and our friends, and we just feel so tired that we show our worst sides, don't we, to our family, because we know that they will forgive us. So we still feel guilty because we're angry and we're frustrated because we're unable to tolerate anything that goes on inside the house where no one can see us. So and then we move down to joylessness, and this is really where you know, when you're just on track and you're just trying to hold it together, you're going through your menopause, you feel you're doing fine, but you've got a lot of work to do. You've got your children who are maybe doing their GCSEs or at school or older. You've got your parents who are not well, maybe, and you're just trying to stick it all together. And so in doing so, you let things go. You start to let all the things you once enjoyed, you have to just let that go. You feel you have to let that go. So you stop going to exercise classes, you stop going to the pub with your friends, you stop socializing, you stop your hobbies and so on, because you just can't. The things that nurture you, you let go, where really those are the things that you should be doing to try, because you can only look after other people when you can look after yourself. And then, you know, we become you know, we're spiraling down, and then we become maybe depressed, and at the bottom we kind of spatter out with exhaustion and burnout. So you know, I don't want to really depress everyone on the call here, but you know, it's just seeing how things can spiral out of control if we don't catch it. And the point of yoga is that when we come to our yoga mat, we learn to see ourselves more clearly. We learn to understand our bodies better. We learn to understand our minds better. We learn to see the triggers of what could cause us feeling a little anxious. You know, why do I feel like this today when I didn't feel like that yesterday? And try and get things more in a structured way in our mind, and we also understand our bodies better. So yeah, that's hopefully how yoga, well, it does work. Okay. So moving on to the next. So yeah, mindfulness does mindfulness techniques. So I've taught mindfulness over the years too. And it can help in menopause, similar to how CBT does, actually. They're quite similar, cognitive behavioral therapy to mindfulness. And so if you think about if you were to have a hot flush, so people, you know, we talk about hot flushes as a heat that rises from within, and we can feel it happening. We can feel it coming on, you know, and what is people's first reaction to that? It's, you know, there's many reactions, but quite often it's like start to fan the face really vigorously because you think, oh my God, I'm going to go really hot in a minute. I'm going to be bright red. I'm going to start sweating. You might start apologizing. You might say, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know I look really red. I'm really sorry about this. And you know, because you feel embarrassed, and sometimes you might just want to walk away. You want to get out of that situation. You want to avoid it. And that's the thing. A lot of women start to avoid situations because they don't want to be in that situation where they're going bright red in the face. But mindfulness helps us to learn to turn towards it and to accept it more as a natural thing that's happening in our body. Of course, it's still a little embarrassing, but the more you panic about it, the more the worse it gets, the hot flush. And when you learn to be less stressed about hot flushes, they do become less frequent because you know you are in control and they don't control you. So it's like a noticing attitude. You notice the hot flush, but you soften towards it. You don't fight against it. You allow it to happen. You breathe through it. And if if the experience does become overwhelming, you take the attention back to the breath, because that is your key tool to help you, and consciously bring your feet to the floor to ground yourself. So, but we'll have a little breathing exercise at the end of this to kind of demonstrate a way of breathing through such anxious situations, such as hot flushes and general feelings of anxiety. So this slide is called Just 12 Breaths. In yoga, we really, in the tradition of yoga, I have always practiced and taught is that the breathing exercises are as important as the physical side of yoga. It's such a beneficial thing to have in your back pocket at any time, to know that you can use your breath to really bring you into the here and now and in control. Okay, so in yoga, breathing techniques is called pranayama. Prana is energy, or your life force, or your breath. Prana is your breath, and ayama means lengthening. So you're lengthening your breath, and you're lengthening your life. Well, not literally, don't quote me on that, but you're lengthening your how much energy you have in your body. And and it's called Just 12 Breaths because 12 breaths is thought to be the minimum amount of breaths you need, conscious breaths you need to take a day for you to have quite profound benefit. Okay, so the normal respiratory rate is between 12 to 16 breaths a minute. So if you took just 12 conscious breaths, it would just take you 3 minutes. So that's 3 minutes a day, 3 minutes out of your life, to hopefully you will feel much more in control, and it gives you a sense of empowerment, because I've used breathing techniques all through my adult life in different situations. For example, when I've had to do a big presentation in front of lots of people, if I've during my pregnancies and my labor were very helpful. That's quite extreme, but in all different situations where I felt I've needed to really focus. And so your breath is your point of focus. And in meditation, we need a point of focus. And some people focus on images or the moon or I don't know, other things. But if you think, the breath is always with you, so you don't need to carry anything. It is obviously it's all within us. And when we have control over our breath, we can control our thoughts, and our thoughts become clear, and our thoughts become balanced. This is with practice. So you have to practice regularly. So you let your breath anchor you into the here and now. And as I say, once these techniques are mastered, you don't only need to use them, just for when you have a hot flush or during your menopause transition and during your menopause. You take them through for the rest of your life. You'll always come back to them at certain times when you need them. And in mindfulness, we call it a breathing space. And it teaches us to live in the present moment. So this little quote here, you only ever have a moment to live, this moment. So just meaning that whatever happened yesterday is gone, we can't change. Whatever happens tomorrow in the next half hour, we have no control over really either, because everything can change in an instant. The only thing we have control over is this moment, this very moment. And when we watch the breath, we are really living in the here and now, and slows everything down. So what I thought we could do, that is really the end. So it's like a little whistle stop tour of yoga and how it can help during the menopause. We'll have a little, if you want to ask me any questions, I thought maybe we could have a little practice and you experience it if you want to. And then you can maybe have it, if you want to talk to me about anything afterwards, whether it's to do with yoga or menopause, we can talk about it at the end. So if you're happy to do so, I thought we could Maybe do a little breathing practice. I'm just going to have a sip of water. Okay, so what I want you to do now is to, you're most likely sitting on a chair. If you wanted to, you could lie on the floor, but you don't have to, probably best sitting in a chair. And if it's okay for you, I'd like you to have your eyes closed. If you don't like having your eyes closed, then you just glancing downwards. And before we begin, we become aware of our physical body. So we're aware of our feet on the floor. So just feel the contact of your feet on the floor. And just feel your body supported by the floor and by the earth beneath you. So you're supported and you're safe. And now I want you to bring your awareness to your abdomen and your belly. And just notice if you hold any tension there. And just allow the abdomen to soften and to relax. And then bring your awareness to your shoulders and just notice your shoulders, and notice if you are holding your shoulders slightly up around the ears. I want you to consciously just relax the shoulders, allow them to slope away from the ears and to relax. And then notice your hands resting on your legs, holding no tension in the hands or the fingers. Hands and fingers are relaxed. And now notice your neck and jaw. And notice if you grit your teeth, just allow the jaw to loosen and to relax. And the eyes are just gently closed, holding no tension in the face. The face is soft and relaxed. So we're now going to bring the awareness to the breath. So breathing through the nose, just watch the cool air as it enters the nostrils and the slightly warmer air as it leaves. Just keep your focus at the tip of the nose. Inhaling the cool air and exhaling the slightly warmer air. So in a moment, what I'd like you to do is imagine a door frame in your mind's eye. And as you inhale, I want you to bring your mind up one side of the door frame to the top. In the natural pause, bring your mind along the top of the door frame. And as you exhale, bring your mind down the other side of the door frame. And in the natural pause, bring your mind along the bottom of the door frame to the beginning again. So it's inhaling up one side, pause along the top, exhale down the other side, pause along the bottom. So keeping this image in your mind as you breathe. And each time you breathe out, just feel the body just releasing and relaxing a little more each time. Every time you exhale, letting go a little more. And when your mind will begin to wander, which it will, just notice where your mind has gone to, and then just gently bring it back to the breath. So imagine your thoughts like clouds in the sky. They're just passing by. And then you're bringing your focus each time back to that door frame and back to the breath. Relaxing the shoulders, softening the face, watching the breath. So in a moment, we're just going to allow the image of the door frame to just kind of float away, but keeping the eyes closed just for a few more moments, just noticing how you feel after those few breaths, watching the breath. As you've allowed life to unfold in the present moment. And then when you're ready, just opening the eyes if they're not open. And you may want to take a little stretch, bringing the arms up and stretching the arms up a little bit. Up to you. Bring the arms down. And so I hope you enjoyed that little taster of how yoga can help you during the menopause. And so if you've got any questions at all, please pop it in the chat. I'll let Mary come back in a moment if she's still there, and let me know how you feel.